Welcome to my channel. My name is Pavel Paska and this is a channel about wine. So today we're gonna talk about decanting. Welcome. So, decanters. Plenty different types. You can use just a jug or something like I have over here. Right now I'm keeping here the flowers in it, but still could be used as a decanter. Okay, so what's decanting? Decanting is the process of separating the sediment that collects at the end of the bottle from the wine which aged for long. So we separate it from the liquid, beautiful, clear wine on the top by decanting, right? So here's how you would do that. Why do we decant? As you just saw, to separate the sediment from the clear wine. That's the first rule and the first reason for what for we actually decanting the wine. Another thing we just found out a little bit later, basically when people start to decant the wine, they discover that the wine that stays in contact with air in the decanter or any other vessel after being opened change its valors, change its qualities, open up a little bit, which means more flavors, more complex flavors are appearing in the wine, and the wine is more palatable, more presentable, more taste basically better. The aeration changed the structure of the wine, changed aromas, and that will be the reason why we decant the wine. Few more reasons, maybe less known. If you are a waiter or sommelier or you work in the restaurant, might happen to you, or even when you open your wine at home, especially with older bottles. Once you try to open the cork, if it's older bottle, the cork might be a little bit more fragile, start to crumble, breaks eventually, and when you open it, when you take it out, the cork goes inside, or crumbles of the cork goes inside the bottle, and it's basically impossible to take it off. Okay, what would you do? You take your decanter, put little filter on top, pour the wine through it, so basically the little parts of cork gonna stay on it, clear wine is inside, you take it off, throw it away, you're good. Another reason, which is also kind of less known, but very often when you in the restaurant, when your guests order the wine and you bring straight away from the fridge or the cellar underground where the temperature is very cool, might happen that your wine is a little bit too cold and you want to warm it up. Just a touch, but you need to warm it up to bring all the aromas to serve the wine in the right temperatures, because this actually have huge impact on taste. You might want to decant the wine, so pour it through, then the cold wine in contact with a little bit warmer decanter is going to warm up a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, and get the right temperature in right time, right? Or another small reason, which happens sometimes, not very often, but it's pain in the ass when it happens. So your wine might smell old eggs, burned matches, chemical reaction which sometimes appear in wine. You can get rid of it differently than corked wine. Corked wine, you cannot do nothing usually with that. You might want to decant your wine, let it breathe, put on the side for an hour, 2, 3, maybe 4, until the smell just disappear. That's gonna let you save your wine basically. What wine to decant? Very good question. There are different schools, different theories. Some people say is that you should decant only old wines. Some people say is that you should decant all the wines, especially the young ones. What's the right way? For old wines, you want to decant for the main reason of sediment. The old wine is gonna have usually lots of sediment in it, so you want to decant the wine to make sure the sediment stays on the end of the bottle, and you separate the clear, beautiful liquid in your decanter so you can serve until the end nice, beautiful wine without any sediment in it. For old wines, not for all is very necessary to decant them. By decanting them, you might actually break them. So it's very depends with all the wine. What you should definitely decant: young, powerful wines, very structured, very robust, very concentrated, with very fresh type of tannins, very strong type of tannins. Think Cabernet Sauvignon, which is quite powerful, quite structured. So this kind of wine you would like to decant, because what's happened, decanting is kind of a way of quick aging the wine, let's say. It's obviously nothing to compare with aged wine for 10-15 years or 20. It's kind of this idea, when the wine has contact with the air, change aromas, opens up, brings different types of aromas. So that means open the wine, you develop more aromas in the wine, and the wine is a little bit more special. Another thing is by decanting you soften the tannins, so the harsh, very tannic, very bitter kind of tannins, very unpleasant type of tannins, when you're gonna decant the wine, it should smooth them down around the tannins. The wine should be a little bit more palatable, a little bit more pleasant. What I just read, if you have wines which have long oxidation process, for example Madeira, those wines you need to definitely decant them, and for the very long time, because more oxidation process during the production of the wine, more you should decant them. That's how it should work. So what to not decant? Definitely you shouldn't decant simple wine, very everyday drinking wines. Those wines who are not very complex, not very structured, not very concentrated, those wines you shouldn't decant. They're not gonna involve, they're not gonna bring more aromas, but they might actually lose aromas by decant. The fragile aromas in this wine might disappear. So you shouldn't really decant very simple, not complex wines. Light wines, very young, Pinot Noir, Beaujolais, very young. You shouldn't decant them, they're not gonna improve, nothing is gonna change. And sparkling wines in general, because you don't want to lose the sparkles, you don't want to lose any CO2 from the wine. You want to keep as longest bubbles in your glass as you can. So by decanting, obviously you're going to lose a lot of bubbles. There's actually a new school of actually decant the sparkling wines. That's gonna happen very often in very posh restaurants, very high level restaurants with vintage champagnes. So old vintage champagnes, they might be sometimes decanted. Anyway, after decantation, you're still gonna have some gas in them. It's a little bit more complex, it's a little bit more developed, and then the decantation brings even more aromas and open the wine even more. But in 99% of situations, you will not decant your sparkling wine. So just so you know about that. So which decanter to use? Plenty of different options. This one, that one, mug for coffee or lemonade if you like, or the one from the flowers. Two most common is this one or this one. This is classic decanter. Very often you're gonna find almost everywhere. Very good shape to decant. So what's the advantages of it? Of course, you pour the wine got have huge surface to have contact with the air, decants your wine a little bit quicker. Everybody does this. It's kind of cool, so why not? This is a great decanter to have at home. For the restaurant, good decanter too, but sometimes in a situation when you need to serve especially big group, a lot of guests, with the end of the wine on your decanter, especially when you need to reach somewhere far or in difficult position between the guests, might be a little bit tricky, because when you want to pour the last drop of the wine, let me see, when you want to put the last drop of the wine, you need to literally turn your hand 360 degrees, and might be sometimes a little bit tricky. In this situation, this decanter is really good decanter for restaurants, especially for the busy ones. Beautiful decanter, decants well as well, maybe a little bit smaller surface than in this one, but still decants very well. Very beautiful duck shape or swan shape if you like. Decants very well, very easy to use. Just pour it on the top, boom, you have everything. In the situation of service in restaurants, especially when you have groups of 20, 30, 40 guests, you need to serve everybody. Wine is beautifully decanted. Everybody, of course, guests are busy, talking, it's loud, you know, you need to serve them, but sometimes they don't hear you, don't see you, but of course you need to pour the wine, reach very far. This is beautiful decanter to do that, because then from very, very far angle, you can just go to the glass, pour perfectly, no drops, basically water up people or wine up people with the little straw here. So it's very precise and great decanter to serve in the restaurant, especially the busy ones, especially the ones that you have to run and do the service in more complicated situations. So how to decant the wine? Simple, you take your decanter, pour the wine, make sure that the sediment stays at the end or in this part of the bottle, so make sure that you don't drop any sediment in the wine. My advice, when you use this decanter or any other, try to pour the wine on the opposite side, on the opposite wall of the glass, not the one here. The reason is, while you pour here, wine goes only on this side and obviously to the decanter, and after stays with the contact with the air. Once you pour on this side, it's maybe a little bit trickier. The wine beautifully spread all over the decanter, so has more contact in the air during the decanting process. Looks beautiful, decants a little bit faster, a little bit better, so that's my advice for decanting the wine. How long for do we decant the wine? Very much depends of what kind of wine you have. I would say less than 30 minutes doesn't really make sense, but then can go from 30 minutes to 1 day before. Depends of what kind of wine. If you go for like Madeira, this wine should be decanted for like 1 day before. With other more powerful wines, very structured, very tiny, very concentrated, I would say 2-4 hours. If you are in the restaurant, eat quick lunch, don't want to think too much about the wine, you're gonna spend 1 hour over there, no sense to decant your wine, unless this is very special wine. If you have time, of course, and possibility, call before, ask the restaurant to decant the wine that you're going to choose. They're probably going to do that and keep it on the side for you, if you will. I hope you liked this episode. I hope that was helpful, explained something for you. If you have anything to add or anything that you would like to have better explanation on, let me know in the comments, so then I will know more, and then we're gonna talk more about it. If you like it, of course, please like and subscribe. See you next time. Drink a wine, enjoy, bye. Have a nice day. A little bit more angel, kurwa. A little bit more pleasant.